What is the crack, everyone? It's Nathan here, aka the Rambling Kern, and head instructor of Kern School of Combat. So if you are interested in lessons with me, either online or in person, you'll find those down in the description. If you want to join my amazing community where I post regular videos and you can discuss these things with me directly, you'll find my Patreon down below where we have our Discord and all of our wonderful chats. So today's video, a little bit out of the normal for this channel. Something that I want to start to do with the channel is just kind of explore some fun things and kind of look into some of the areas that I like to have fun with, and I thought this would be a very interesting one. So if you are not familiar, this is a meme that is sweeping the internet at the moment. 100 men versus one silverback gorilla. Who could win? Now, I am looking at this from the side of military history, and obviously my background in teaching martial arts. So for those who are not familiar with myself, if you're new here with this video, I have a background teaching Irish martial arts, specializing in Irish stick fighting, and I have well over a decade of kickboxing, MMA, judo, jiu-jitsu experience, as well as a big background in various different weapons. So that combined with a good understanding of military history, I think I have a good grasp on some interesting variables that I think people haven't really discussed yet, or at least ones I have not seen discussed yet. So off the top, who do I think would win? I think, depending on the terrain, I think humans would absolutely walk away with it. Now, the real question is, why do I think that? This is fairly simple. Our ability to throw things. I think this is something that I haven't seen brought up. I think it is the number one reason why the 100 men would walk away with it. Why do I think that? So one of our big defining characteristics as humans is our ability to throw objects. Our shoulder girdle is specifically designed for that. We have an ability to throw things and throw things accurately. That is something that no other animal has. Now, I'm not saying that of those 100 people, you're going to have, Major League Baseball players who are hurling, 100-mile-an-hour rocks at this thing. But if you have 100 people who can throw rocks, even hitting a creature of that size, 100 of them, that kind of death by 1,000 cuts adage, that's 10 rocks for each person. That's going to heal a huge amount of damage very, very quickly, even if they just cause small little cuts and nicks. So that's why I'm saying it really, really depends on terrain. Some of the earliest weapons we have are thrown and basically shaped throwing sticks and rocks that humans developed. So everyone's familiar with boomerangs. That's a classic example of specialized throwing sticks for hunting. Obviously, there are uniquely shaped throwing rocks that basically have like a napped ridge down the front, basically an angular pointed face for throwing at things. Some of the earliest known stone tools that we've ever found are those. So that is a huge variable I've not seen brought up. Obviously, if you're in the gorilla's home territory of the jungle, you have access to rocks, you have access to sticks for making clubs and improvised spears. Again, there's other variables around this. Depends on how much time people have to prepare. If we have time to prepare, then we're going to be able to set traps. You have a huge advantage. Humans are amazing and have taken out creatures much, much larger than themselves through the use of traps. So that is one interesting variable to think about as well. If we don't have time and it is just rushed in that environment, like I said, jungle, we're doing great. If it's a traditional Irish field with dry stone walls, perfect, filled with rocks that we can throw. But if we look at the variables of, is it a let's say like a basketball court with just a plain floor and concrete walls, in which case things change up quite a bit. Now, my other job for many years was as a strength and conditioning coach. One thing I saw brought up by a zookeeper who actually looks after gorillas is that gorillas are not very good with endurance. Humans are amazingly well adapted to endurance. Some really, really interesting discussions around how humans can basically outrun any other animal on Earth. Anyone who's familiar with like endurance races, good example of it. Humans are able to run huge, huge distances at a slow and steady pace. It's been our superpower is that we can do that and run down animals. Now, obviously in a fight scenario, it's a very different thing, but gorillas are not hunters. That is not their goal. So they're not designed to fight animals for extended periods. So the zookeeper was saying that the gorillas would probably tire out and then the humans would get the upper hand. So that is an interesting variable to think about. Now, the other thing that I have seen brought up, which I think is a bit of a interesting one, to say the least, as a martial arts coach. I really don't think martial arts training would have a huge benefit. Now, people who train martial arts in the world's population are probably like 1% or less than 1%. So the chances of you taking 100 people off the street randomly and putting them in this situation, it's pretty unlikely that many of them are going to be trained martial artists. And even if they are, I can't really think of many martial arts that would have a good translation into this. I would say things that would actually translate better to this sort of thing might be like soccer or any sort of kicking sports, because I think kicks would probably be your big advantage, to throw kicks and try to get out of there. Maybe grappling, but I really don't think you're going to be able to sink in a choke too well in a silverback gorilla. And if you do, might just tear your arms off in the process. Maybe finger locks or joint locks might do some damage, especially if it gets tired. But again, a lot of variables around that. It also depends on the format. Are you doing 100 all at once? In which case, maybe people have time to coordinate beforehand. Maybe it's one at a time, in which case that might just wear the gorilla down over time, like Royal Rumble format. Those aren't familiar with the WWE, it's like a new competitor every 30 seconds. That might be an interesting variation of it. Not saying that someone's going to go out and do a 100 men versus gorilla Royal Rumble, although I'm sure someone's crazy enough to do it out there. Would be an interesting one to see. Obviously then, if we're talking about, how humans would react in this situation, interesting things to think about. If we look at humans throughout history, this was a known thing in antiquity. If you were fighting a force and you were overwhelming them in numbers, it was a known tactic that you had to give them a route of escape. So if you completely surrounded a force, loads of interesting examples of this throughout history. Probably the most famous would be like the Battle of Thermopylae. Now, obviously you could argue ins and outs of that, but when an enemy is completely surrounded, they have nowhere to go, they will fight to the last man. We have numerous different examples of that throughout history. But in a situation like this, once people see that there's no way out, that might be the advantage that the humans would have. If there was a way out, people might just try to flee and do everything they can to get out, which might cause panic and might cause more damage in itself. Again, a lot of really interesting variables depending on how you format this out, which is why this is one of those real fun and interesting thought experiments. That's probably why it's taken on so much. I think the big thing, as we always see with these sort of things, is generally men especially tend to overestimate their ability to fight, especially against a creature like this. Gorilla is not something to be messed with, even in the slightest. I don't think we even really know the limits of a gorilla's strength. But even the fact that they can swing on one arm is massively stronger than most humans. Even just that alone is a huge, massive amount of power that they have. Obviously, they would have the ability in a jungle terrain then to move through the trees in a way that we wouldn't. So interesting variables to think about with that. But like I said, I do think humans would have the upper hand, mainly due to our ability to prepare and our ability to use tools, something that no other animal really has, at least not in the way that we are able to do it. Now, bit of an unusual video. I've seen a lot of people, different takes on this. I've seen martial artists discuss it. I've seen, like I said, zookeepers discuss it. I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons player. I've seen people use that as a format to calculate how this would go. But like I said, there's some interesting aspects I've not seen brought up, especially the ability for humans to throw objects, something I've not really seen brought up in this discussion. So one I wanted to throw in, and obviously throw in some, examples throughout history of how these, sort of situations where humans are forced to fight to the last man tend to go. Always very interesting things to look at history and see how that can teach us lessons going forward. So what do you guys think? Who do you think would win? What do you think would happen? How do you think it would go? Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Like I said, a bit of an interesting video, a bit of a silly video. I have a lot of things in the works at the moment. I'm actually making a lot of things, which is why there's a bit of a delay in some of the videos, because these things take time. I've had some delays with materials and stuff, but you'll be seeing more videos from me soon. I want to get more uploads going. If you're interested in these kind of reaction videos and my kind of hot takes, for want of a better term, let me know. I'd be happy to do these more regularly and kind of get more videos out to you guys and let you know my kind of mad musings on things, or my rants or ramblings. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Really helps me out. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in learning martial arts from myself, everything's down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend, and slán.